Greg, obviously this has implications directly for the prosecution of Donald Trump, but the court here today also potentially changed the course of the office of the presidency for the future.
Yeah, it sure did. In fact, it didn't really talk at all about, what specifically it means for whether or not a trial can go forward before the election this year. This ruling was all about the spheres of areas where the president should not have to worry, the court said, about the prospect of criminal prosecution. There are areas that the Constitution says are entirely within the president's power, like the pardon power. Can't be prosecuted for anything he does there. Other areas where it is still within the president's official authority, though perhaps not quite as exclusive as with the pardon power. And in those areas, there's a presumption against criminal prosecution. So it really walled off a lot of areas where the president can't be prosecuted.
So it appears there will not be time for Jack Smith to have his January 6th trial here in Washington before the election, as this is knocked down to a lower court and they try to determine what is official and what is not. In the meantime, what is the status of the sitting president of the United States? Is it good to be king?
It is, in the sense that if you want to be somebody who doesn't have to worry about criminal prosecution, yes. In terms of the trial, it is near certain it cannot happen this year. There's just not going to be enough time. In fact, this could be a process that takes I'm speculating here, but easily a year before a trial starts, just because Judge Chutkan is going to have to make a lot of rulings. Those rulings will go up on appeal, come back to the Supreme Court. All that will have to happen before there's a prosecution. And of course, if Donald Trump wins the election, there won't be one.
Yeah, it can make the whole thing go away. To your point, though, on this idea that this could all come back to the Supreme Court anyway, why not rule today and directly say what constitutes an official act and what is a private act? Why wouldn't the justices make that decision for themselves?
Well, I think what they would say is we don't decide more than we have to. And, we want to let lower court judges take first crack at things before we jump in to decide them. They did say that there's some areas here that are off limits. For example, his conversations with people at the Justice Department. They said can't be prosecuted for that. Other areas, the court said, are going to require a district judge looking into the facts about the context of tweets he put out and the things he said in that speech at the Ellipse. And it's going to require more of a factual determination than has been done so far. And then the court left open the possibility that it can review that factual determination.
So it's likely then, since there is no real ruling today, it goes to the lower court and then eventually comes back to this court. Is that safe to expect?
Yeah, that is certainly possible. One thing they did make clear is that all this has to happen before a trial, that this is not a case. One of the things Jack Smith asked for as sort of a fallback argument was, hey, even if there's some stuff that we can't use, even if there's some official acts that you're saying can't be part of this case, let the district judge worry about that at trial. Let the trial go forward now. The court very clearly declined to do that and said this all has to be decided beforehand.
Helping us bring clarity to a very complex story, Greg Stohr, as always, we thank you covering the Supreme Court for us here at Bloomberg. And for more reaction to today's ruling, I spoke with constitutional law attorney Robert McWhirter today on Bloomberg Radio. He said everything changes if Donald Trump gets elected.
We could find ourselves with a president-elect on trial, but realize the moment he becomes president, he can shut the whole thing down. So presumably, if they could get in, before January of 2025, they could probably do it. But I don't even see how that happens.
Let's go now to Bloomberg's Wendy Benjaminson for the political side of this important legal story. Wendy, it's great to have you with us today. Donald Trump goes to Truth Social seconds after the ruling. Big win for our Constitution and democracy. Proud to be an American. Is he right, or is it a big win for Donald Trump?
It's a big win for Donald Trump, and I think it's still to be decided whether it's a big win for the Constitution or not. I mean, I was thinking earlier about Nixon and Watergate. And Nixon, there was that famous Saturday Night Massacre in which Nixon ordered the Attorney General to do something, I think fire the special counsel, and the Attorney General refused. So Nixon fired him, brought in the deputy. He refused. Nixon fired him. Would all of that be, which would be obstruction of justice in a civilian world, would all of that now be perfectly legal.
As an official act.
As an official act. And they even mentioned that an official act was Donald Trump going to Mike Pence and saying, I want you to go to Congress and not certify the election and say it was rigged, even though both Pence and Trump knew the election wasn't. And the Supreme Court today, I think, said that's okay, because that's an official act. It's really startling.
Well, and it's so much so that this has dominated the conversation here in Washington today, and perhaps in doing so has taken some heat off of President Biden after last week's debate performance. That certainly wasn't the case, though, on the Sunday show circuit, where this is something Democrats were asked a lot about yesterday, including Democratic Congressman from Maryland, Jamie Raskin, who spoke about the fallout from Biden's performance.
We're having a serious conversation about what to do. One thing I can tell you is that regardless of what President Biden decides, our party is going to be unified. Whether he's the candidate or someone else is the candidate, he is going to be the keynote speaker at our convention. He will be the figure that we rally around to move forward.
He described it as a serious conversation being underway, Wendy, and yet it doesn't seem that anyone in the Biden camp is looking to have that conversation. And in fact, we're reporting today the DNC is considering nominating him a month early.
Absolutely. And so there are lots of serious conversations happening in the Democratic world, among Democratic lawmakers, among thinkers, among what is derisively called the chattering class. But yes, apparently in the Biden family and in the White House, it is full steam ahead. This ruling today from the Supreme Court just shows how dangerous it is to elect Donald Trump. And they are just whistling past Thursday night into this thing. And just think for a moment, if Donald Trump decided to quietly and in a virtual meeting nominate himself, even if they announced it, nominate himself before the convention, I can just hear pearls dropping all over town as they're clutching it and saying, he's being a dictator, he's trying to take, subvert power. And from what our reporting is today, that's exactly what the Biden White House is doing. They're deciding to move up the date he is nominated to avoid this conversation.
This is incredible. So this would happen as soon as July 21st when the Credentials Committee meets. A virtual meeting.
And the convention is until August 15th.
That's right. Chicago. This is supposed to be the whole point of this exercise, making that even more of a showbiz event. But to your point, this is kind of the definition of a backroom deal, right? This is giving Donald Trump another excuse to call this rigged.
It is, even though, let's be fair, I mean, the delegates, the elected delegates are there. The delegates are pledged to Biden on the first vote. Yes, and that's the people said they wanted, Democratic voters at least said they wanted Joe Biden to be the nominee. And these delegates will vote for Biden. But moving it up avoids any time for anyone else to come in and say, hold up, let's see how you do. And I'm quite sure they'll keep him out of unscripted moments in the meantime.